right. Welcome to the Wicked Edge. It's Wednesday night. It's Tiffany, Beth, and Jenny. What? Hump day. Jenny gave a woo-woo. Yeah, we're white. It's okay. We only live in the country. It's fine. You love us. So, welcome to the Wicked Edge, everybody. It's Wednesday night. It's the middle of October. It's, the paranormal Christmas, and I can't believe it's almost over. It is the 16th of October. Where has the time gone? Oh, my goodness. Tonight, we have an amazing show for you. We have our beloved Christopher de Cesare, who was the haunting survivor of the hauntings at Geneseo College. If you watch School Spirits, I'm sure you've seen the story. Not only was he on School Spirits, but he has 2 movies out called Surviving Evidence and Please Talk With Me, the C2G1 Hauntings. Both very good, compelling movies, and there's a book to go with the C2G1 Hauntings, Please Talk With Me as well. For those of you who don't know, Christopher is such a wonderful, loving person. He's a very good friend of ours. We're so proud to know him. And in a minute, we're going to get to talk about the hauntings, the movies. He has a lecture coming out. We're even going to ask him to plan that for Halloween. Why not? It's October. So before we get to Christopher, I just want to give a couple shout outs. Vortex Ghost Gear. If you have a new team, or maybe you're just looking for some investigating equipment, Vortex Ghost Gear is your place to go. It's all handmade, and it's quality. It's made by the founder of Ghost Detectives, Bob Christopher, and Ghost Detectives air on Tuesday nights, I believe, on the CW, and you can catch them every Tuesday night investigating. They're awesome people. But like I said, if you're looking for some amazing equipment to investigate with, go to www.vortexghostgear.com, or you can visit our website at www.dtmwickedradio.com. Click on the sponsors page, scroll down, and click on the Vortex Ghost Gear and go right to the website. How easy is that? Doesn't get any easier. Awesome. So that's Vortex Ghost Gear. And then we have Rolling Hills Asylum. This is the month of awesomeness for Rolling Hills. It's October. Every weekend they have the Haunted Asylum. Now, granted, it's always haunted anyway, but they have a haunted house. It's amazing. 3 floors of scary, and it's awesome. Sharon goes to the hilt to provide the best in scare-tastic environment. And you're going to want to go to www.rollinghills.com to purchase your ticket, or go to www.dtmwickedradio, click on the sponsor page, scroll down to Rolling Hills Asylum, click on the banner, and go right to the website to order your tickets for the Haunted Rolling Hills Asylum. Again, it's in East Bethany, New York. It is scary. So if you like to be scared, so scared that when you walk outside you have to look behind your shoulder, you want to go to Rolling Hills. That's in East Bethany, New York. Awesome. Sharon Coyle does a fantastic job. Again, it's www.rollinghillsasylum.com, or go to www.dtmwickedradio.com, click on the plus page, scroll down, and click on Rolling Hills Asylum. Also, Dream Code Magazine, proud sponsor of us. There is a huge layout for GTM Wicked Radio and Dream Code Magazine. Also, they can answer your questions about, what did I dream about last night? What does it mean? Am I going to have a baby? Am I going to move to China? What's going on? They can answer that question. So go to www.dreamcodesmagazine.com, or once again, go to www.dtmwickedradio.com, click on the sponsor page, scroll down to Dream Codes Magazine, click on the banner for Dream Codes Magazine, and there you'll be to order your subscription and read all about DTM, because we are it. We are awesome. Oh, yeah, I'm bragging. Check us out. So it's Dream Codes Magazine. Check them out. Read about your dreams and read about us. So enough about us and enough about our sponsors, even though I love them very much. Let's get to our guest. Mr. de Cesare, how are you?
Hey, good night, Tiffany Beth. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You know that.
I know. I got to tell you, everybody, Chris de Cesare is such a beautiful and warm person. Him and Jeff Younger and Mara Katria, who actually will be in our show in November, such warm, loving people. I love Jeff because every time I see him, he's got a camera in his hand, and he's always taking pictures. Like, you just know that man lives, breathes, and eats photography. And Mara is such a beautiful, beautiful soul. And I have to tell you, all 3 of these people give the best hugs. Like, they always make my day brighter whenever I see them, because they give the best hugs. And it's just so sweet. And we actually, so excited, we got to see the premiere of Surviving Evidence a couple weeks ago. And it was, the turnout was fantastic. How did you feel the turnout and everything went for Surviving Evidence, Chris?
Well, I was really pleased. It's amazing when you plant a seed and a flower grows, where something good happens from hard work and effort. And the amazing thing about that for me, in terms of the turnout, the people who were there were folks who are really decent, people who have been supportive, people who are out there in the community making differences with children, with animals, people out there on television trying to spread awareness. So the caliber, not just the number, the caliber of the people that were there was very gratifying because, like I said, you never know how things turn out until they occur. And what a glorious place. The Proctor's was a gorgeous venue. It was great to see all the people in the crowd. It's hard for me to talk about it because it was like a dream. It was like a dream for me.
Well, it was. I mean, Proctor's was gorgeous, and the turnout was so wonderful. Like, so many wonderful people were there. I believe that was put on by John Tobin and Glory Hunthound. Again, great friends of ours, wonderful, wonderful people. John Tobin's Mike Back, his show, his classic show, Keeping the Spirit of Classics, was aired right before our show. Again, such great people, and it was such a beautiful time. I mean, the movie was fantastic. It was definitely unique. It was put together in such a unique way. It definitely is in its own category and is so beautiful, fantastic. And the turnout was great. I mean, Proctor's, you couldn't have asked for a better theater, so full of history. As a matter of fact, I believe you guys did an investigation afterwards. And everybody was there, Brian Canna, Lauren Sheridan, Rosalind Brown, so many, Chip Rickenthal, John Tobin, everybody was there. It was so, so wonderful. And it must have been so surreal to see, the story of your experience. I mean, and this is the second movie made about it, but it must be, it's so surreal to see it again in a different format, the story of your experience on the big screen.
Well, yeah, the sci-fi show, School Spirits, that was scripted by folks out in California, and it was, put on network television. So they take a little snippet of the 75 days that the hunt occurred over, and for maximum dramatic impact, So that was their take on my experience. The first film, Please Talk With Me, was like a documentary where it took people through the day-by-day activities and what it felt like for those people who want to experience that, to go through an extreme haunting and how you question your sanity and how you turn to people for help and for guidance. So that was basically a piece that said, here's what it's like. But Surviving Evidence, for me, is the most dear to my heart because this came about when people kept asking me important questions like, what does it mean to you? How does it affect you? How do hauntings play a role in developing people's personalities or in their survival mechanisms? And so really it was a chance for me for the first time to explain what I felt and what I believed in. And so it was a very personal experience. The first film, Please Talk With Me, was narrated by Jeff Unger, and he's there with me looking at those moments. So this is my first chance to really say, okay, well, here's what I believe, here's what I felt. And I have to thank Mark Ties, who, in many senses, is the antagonist. He is a police investigator, a trooper from Pennsylvania in his actual vocation. He's a DJ on a paranormal show in Pennsylvania. So I said to him, listen, grill me to disprove the haunting. Really take it to me, challenge me. Because I set up that people understand that the haunting wasn't something that was made for television or for movies. It was a real event. And sometimes, you'll go to a movie that says based on real events. Well, maybe the location is the same or maybe the date, but it's totally different. And I want people to understand that this is a real event and it affected a lot of people. You did a great job.
It was really beautifully done. When you went through Please Talk With Me and even Surviving Evidence, and this question was asked during the question and answer session after the movie, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How surreal was it because you're in Surviving Evidence, how surreal was it to go over everything you've ever done in your past concerning what you experienced during the haunting? How surreal was it? During any of this movie, did you ever fear that maybe what was happening to you with Geneseo, because now you're kind of, for lack of a term, rehashing everything, that it was back?
Well, it's interesting how sometimes we watch a TV series like Breaking Bad, or Sopranos years ago, or we go to the movies and watch a really cool movie, like Avengers. It's escapism for us. We can escape, have a few moments of laughter, excitement, and we go back to our lives. For me, when someone else plays me on the screen, Kyle Shea played me in Please Talk With Me, Ian Wade played me in School Spirits, they were me. And so there's moments in that it's still them. But seeing me, and when I'm up there on the screen like that, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is weird. Because you never quite like how you look or sound, especially when your face is like hurting across the screen. It's like, what the? So there's more fear. I think I had more fear for this picture because it was really just me out there. I couldn't say, that was a great job acting by. This is just me reacting to, the actual events. And, when you reflect back in front of those lights, in front of the cameras, and it's nerve-wracking because you want to make sure that you're speaking clearly and you're sitting up straight. You wonder as you emote through these moments if you're going to trigger memory that you repressed, if you're going to trigger some activity that you haven't experienced in a while. And if the experience was good, that's awesome. If it was negative, it's really scary. And so there's always a part of me, and always will be a part of me, I don't express it a lot, that is fearful that something that happened before, to that degree, may possibly happen again, which is, it's a scary thing. It's when, if you ever lost a grandparent or a parent, that death can be shattering for a while. You don't like when that occurs. Even if you believe they're in a better place, you still lose that person in your life. And when someone you care about gets ill, you're thinking, oh, no, not again. Please keep them safe. So there's always a piece of that.
Absolutely. And so, that's such a valid fear because, talking about it, and even with, like you said, please don't want that to happen again. You're always afraid that some way by talking about it or thinking about it, you might be willing the same situation to happen again. So, I completely understand where you're coming from.
Well, I had a person I knew who lived on the street from me, who, when she was younger, she's a young mom. Her son was about 16 years old, and she said to him, "I'll see you later." He went out that night and got killed in a car accident. So she never says, "I'll see you later" anymore, because in her mind, that reminds her of the loss of her son. So even though it's unlikely that would happen again, the mind is very strong, and we attach ourselves to emotions in very real ways. So, you really can't undersell the power of emotion in people's minds.
Oh, absolutely. And even in our subconscious, it still lingers, and so you never know, what your mind could almost conjure up. It's really one of those powerful tools that we always underestimate, I believe. So you've done the movies, and now you and John Tobin are actually going to be lecturing. What will you be speaking about? Where will you be going? What dates? What do people have? What do people have to look forward to with seeing you speak, and where they can go to hear you speak?
Sure. Well, I met John just last year, and immediately he and I worked in a very positive friendship developed, and it was nice. And he's had experience himself going back to his childhood, and they're very, very dramatic, very, very meaningful experiences that he had. And we were talking one day. He invited me to have a couple of meals at a local restaurant. And, we should actually work together and go on a tour, and we can talk about the value of looking back at our lives, the value of looking back at history, and through a paranormal lens, and finding value in that. And it can be called the Reaching Through Time Tour. And so I said, that's a great idea, and let's talk about these things. And so, we this fall we're going to go on a number of stops, locations. The first one is actually going to be this weekend. This Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be a spectacular expo. It's going to be in Waterloo, New York. Waterloo, I think it's by Seneca Lake. It's by, not too far from Rochester. And that's going to be the Holiday Inn there. And that's run by the Empire State Paranormal Research Society and Michelle Renslow. It's going to be exciting. We'll have Francine Navarre there, the psychic. Eric Perry's going to be there. John Tobin and myself. And it's a great opportunity to reach out to people in that area. Sometimes the big conferences are in Philadelphia or Manhattan or big cities. I love it when I can actually to locations that are a little smaller, like Rolling Hills, a little bit out of the way. You know, you meet awesome people that don't always get a chance to travel 6 or 10 hours. And, you know, the whole thing for me was in Geneseo, which is right by, not too far from Waterloo. So it's kind of like going back to old spooky stopping grounds. And they're going to be showing the film there, too. So they would also be film there. So that's a cool thing. And then November 23rd, we're going to be at Dave's Coffee and Wine House in Saugerties, New York. And, again, the concept here is for John and I to share our experience and really to let people know the importance of remembering the past, of honoring the past, of trying to restore old buildings, of trying to work on, you know, cementing old relationships and really valuing what you have in your life, because you live through a moment, and that's interesting. But if you forget it, you lose some of the meaning of that event. If you can hold on to pieces of the past once in a while, it's very rewarding, you know, and when times get bad for you, remember a good moment you had with your grandmother or a nice time you had with an old friend, and that can really, you know, push you forward as a person, too, even without the kind of element to it.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, can I just say you had me at wine? You had me at wine.
Well, I have to be careful. I can't be sitting there drinking at the same time to be like, oh, that's my booze. Hey, you in the ring shirt. You know, that's terrifying.
Yeah, but if everybody else is drinking wine, they'll be like, I totally understand where you're coming from, man. Yeah.
Yes. These are my kind of spirits, sir. My kind of spirits.
The after parties are always the best. Those are the spirits we love to connect with the most.
Yes, I'm very familiar with that.
Oh my God! So that's I mean, in seriousness, that sounds really great. You know, I think it's, you know, what John does and what you do are very, very important. You're reaching out to people and then reminding them that, you know, yes, the future is very important, but you know what? Our past is also as equally as important, and we need to hold on to every moment that we can and everything that we can that represents the past. You know, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, it's still a part of what made us who we are today.
Well, that's you know, in history is the past, about technology, about cultural civilizations, and, you know, therapists. When you're a therapist, don't talk about your past and how things develop in your mind with your relationship with your parents or your, you know, your first teacher and things. So, as humans in our species, we are what we've experienced, what we've done. We are the sum of what our actions were, and to ignore that is to ignore what gave us the growth we have, or may give us the suffering we have. And so it's, you know, look back and say, okay, this seems to be positive, and this not so much. And that's how we mature as adults too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, 100% right. You know, and it's what you're doing, going out to remind people of that is what's so important. It's so important. So, excuse me. So along with your lectures with John Tobin, are you doing anything else solo or maybe with Jeff or Mara Katria?
Well, yeah, a couple really amazing things are on the horizon. The first is that I have a wonderful agent. Her name's Annette Munich. And she's
Annette. Sorry.
Yeah, she's amazing. Right. All right, calm down. Yeah,
she's really love her.
Well, yeah, well, she's truly, and see, that's the thing. You know, you mentioned before about, you know, getting a hug from Jeff or from Mara or from myself. They're good because they're real. They're sincere people. One of the things that I like to do is, and I talk about this all the time, is I try to surround myself as best I can with good people. Because in the end, to me, that's what makes things work and makes them enjoyable. And she's been really phenomenal and getting locations to speak at and radio shows like yourself. And I love her to death. And she has me going to Wilson College Horror Film Festival in Perrysburg, Pennsylvania, November 3rd, and they're showing both the films that day. And I can tell you that Bill Edwards, executive producer of the film, and Mark Katria, the director, they're going to be going to all these events as we begin to show the film in this area before distribution. You know, so I think that's great. And also, and this is really fascinating to me, the Please Talk to Me film was filmed in different locations. But at one point in time, they rented out this old building. And inside the building, they actually reconstructed different rooms from my college. There was the professor's room, there was the bedroom, there was all these different rooms in this building. You never know. It looks like a dump outside. Inside was all these great pets. Well, they saved the bedroom, the C2D1 set, and they put it into Jeff Unger's home in State College, Pennsylvania. And he has a huge house. It's right there at Penn State University. And they set up there. And he's going to be opening up in a few months a bed and breakfast, the C2D1 bed and breakfast. It's crazy cool. And he's going to have a set there. You can see from the actual set where the film was created. They're going to bring speakers in every few weeks to talk and give lectures. And that's really exciting. And I hope to be part of that, too, because I just love the concept. People sharing ideas, bonding over a nice meal, and sharing experience together.
Oh, absolutely. That's so exciting.
It really is. And, again, good people. Jeff and I and the rest of us, Beth and Craig and Ed, we didn't talk to this publicly for decades. And it took us meeting people who we trusted to begin to share this whole experience, And when you find a good friend, it's important to hold on to them, just like anything else. And I tell my students, if your parents who bad to you, survive that. But then knowing your child was so tough, when you have kids, don't do the same thing. Don't have your kids suffer like you suffered. And conversely, if your parents were good to you, appreciate it to be good to your kids when you have them someday. And that's how I live my life as well. And that's why I talk about those things. I really like to be involved with good people who are kind. And I'd rather work with someone and talk with somebody who no one's ever heard of before, but is kind and decent, than somebody who's on TV every week and who is not. That's just how I am as a person. And you know what? It's done wonders for me. It really has. It's been a blessing.
Oh, absolutely. And I completely agree with you. And not to get off topic, but it is so important to surround yourself with good, positive people and genuine and sincere people. And unfortunately nowadays, they're a little bit few and far hard to find. But when you do find them, it's like finding that awesome treasure. And you just don't want to let it go, But you also have to remember you have to return the kindness and be good to them. And that's, and I think that's so awesome about you and Mara and Jeff and John and everybody we've ever met. You guys are so genuine and so very kind. And we absolutely love having you on the show. And we can't wait to have Mara and hopefully Jeff soon. And, you guys are such good people, and I can't wait to see you guys succeed. I think it's going to be so phenomenal, and I think it's going to be sweeter because you guys get to share it together.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing. And I was scared, I think we all were, a few years back when the folks from Paranormal State said to us, "You go on television." I'm like, no, that's okay. And then when everything started to happen for us, when you go from being a person nobody knows to a month later, people are saying, "Oh my God, can I have your autograph? I saw you on TV." It's a bizarre thing, And a lot of people crave the attention or they crave notoriety. If you're not ready for it, it's not a good thing, And I struggled too. For example, I went to the same gas station for 15 years. I got my gas there, bought hard rolls and things, The day after the show was on, people were going, "Oh my gosh, sign this." Like, what? Did you know me? I thought, how silly that they would put value in that. But I thought, you know what, though? They could be struggling through cancer or loss of a job or losing their home or some terrible relationship. What does it cost me to sign something for them? What does it cost me for 30 seconds to write a piece of paper that makes them happy? Why would I want to do that? And so for me, too, I had to learn, you know what? What's the role of somebody who does get notoriety? And to me, it's the same thing. Just be kind. You be kind to people because, sometimes you don't know the effect you have on somebody, and that one moment with somebody can inspire them for a long time, And why do we ourselves have to do that? So I try my very best to recognize me, to be courteous, to be kind, to talk to people because it's the least I can do.
Absolutely. It's humane, and it's being a human person with a heart. I think when people start losing their heart over notoriety, that's when it becomes a whole something else. And it's just being human and having a heart and realizing that you're really just still a person. You're a little more noticeable, but you're still just a person. And I always treat people how I want to be treated, and I think that's with people who have notoriety, I think a lot of them, like you and John and stuff, are under the same impression. You treat people how you would want to be treated, whether they be famous or not.
Well,
and I think that's
I can't speak for John specifically, but I agree with him. Speaking for myself, I can tell you this. When the end of the day comes, whether you make $8 an hour, $50 an hour, whether you live in a remote area of western Ohio or you live in some high-rise in Manhattan, at the end, we enjoy being healthy, not in pain. We enjoy having friends we can talk with and share laughs with. And we enjoy having a nice meal once in a while. I mean, no matter who you are, those are things that are just nice, and just like anything else, you don't know how long you have your health for, you have the person you love in your life for. You hope 50 years down the road you have them, but tragedy occurs, and so you have to enjoy every moment as it's given to you.
Absolutely, I completely agree. Now we got to meet your son, and it seems as though you've instilled the same values in him as well.
Well, my son, I have to tell you, my son and my daughter, I love them. You can make a painting, and it can't talk back to you. You can create a song, and that's marvelous too, but it can't react to you. To create life, as I was lucky enough to do with my beautiful wife, to create life and to watch these little children go from holding onto your hand to riding on the back of your neck, to teaching them how to read and write, to run, to ride a bike, to all these things, and they can grow up. It's just an amazing feeling because they are my legacy, really. I mean, I'm going to live on through them, and I hope that when I'm gone, they'll at least have a little piece of me in them where they can have some of those values and reflect upon that. Because like you said before, it seems like every year there are fewer nice people. It seems like every year things get tougher out there economically, socially. There's a lot more anger out there than it was when we were younger. It just seems that way. But you can't give up the fight. And whether it's through yourself, through your friends you make, through your kids you create, whatever it is, it's so important not to give the fight up to be a good person because we're needed out there. People need kindness. And even if it's not common, when it does happen, it's even more rewarding. And like, oh, my gosh, they're nice people. Thank goodness.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you can definitely tell that's something you've instilled in your children. Now, will they be coming with you on the tours? Will they be speaking as well?
No, I wouldn't do that to them. It's, some people just like to talk and like to get out there on stage. Most people don't do that. And my kids, they're bright and they're awesome, but their thing isn't talking to the large crowds. I'd love to have them there. I don't pressure them to do that. I was very proud of them to come here for together. It was great, but I would never put the pressure on them. If they wanted to come with me, I'd say, hey, hop in the car, no problem. So I don't put any pressure on them whatsoever. They have to make their own choices, and I don't want to have it where that's Chris's son, that's Chris's daughter. I want them to be themselves, And I know a lot of people, when I was a kid, they see Mickey Mantle, a great baseball player, Willie Mays, a great baseball player, but their kids lived in the shadow of their parents. It was terrible, They could pick up drugs and get depressed because they couldn't be who their dad or mom was, and I want that for my kids. I want them to be happy with who they are, and if they embrace what I do, bonus. If not, I still love them.
That's awesome. That's so awesome, and that's such a great attitude to have. You should definitely let your kids, make a choice and give them, give the power and the ability to be who they are and choose what they want to choose. I think it's so healthy. Now, what does your wife think about all of this?
Well, this is not her cup of tea. This is not something that she likes talking about. This is not something that she's involved in. But she's very supportive of me. She knows it means a lot to me and that people, benefit from the conversations and it's creative. So she allows me to do this, and as a podcast. I didn't marry her so she could be me or me her. I married her to love her who she was. And you're never going to have a friend or a spouse or a child or a parent who's exactly the same as you are. So, and that's just how it is. And I know it's hard sometimes for people to accept that, but if you're going to love unconditionally, you have to do so. You can't just say it and then say, well, you can't do this. And so, again, just like I was talking about with everybody else, I think I've made some very good choices in my life. And I've worked hard at those choices, and now I can sit back and say, you know what, so far, so good.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, when you met your wife, did you meet her at Geneseo? Did she know about your experiences, or did you wait until a little more into the relationship to say, hey, I had this really great experience.
I have to tell you that the whole thing ended around April 20th, 21st, 1985. About a week later, May 3rd or 4th, I was gone, zipped out. You know, I never wanted to go back there again. I didn't even keep track of what my friends from there because of what memories were for me at that time. It was such a horrific experience. I did not even understand if I was going to die. And so I didn't tell almost anybody about the event except people who were there. In fact, you saw in the film, I think, that my son Matthew, I used to tell him like these stories at night, you know, and how I put him in like a knight shining armor or a wizard and go through the things I went through just to give him exposure to the idea that not talk about me. And then for Halloween time at school, when I taught the children at school, I tell them the ghost story is a Halloween story, like, ooh, kind of a flashlight thing, like a 5 frame. I never really had the strong desire or I never wanted the exposure of having this get out as it was. So, you know, obviously when you're going to date somebody, you don't want to just say, hey, saw a ghost, is dead, yeah, with a blood replaced, scared me, check my back. You know, it's never a great idea. Now, I suppose today with the advent of all the television shows and everything, it's just a big booming market now for the paranormal. Back then especially, and you want to lose a girlfriend or boyfriend? Paranormal back then, that's how you did it. Perfect. You know, nowadays, saying you live in your mom's dad's basement watching Star Trek. Oh, okay, I'll see you, I'm out. You know, but you know, so no, I didn't. In fact, it wasn't for a while until I explained to her, you know, what had happened and you know what went on and what it meant, and you know, and she said, I just, you know, that's fine. I just wanted to be part of that, and that was 25 years ago. So I respect that.
Awesome. So she's had some time to digest. That's good.
John Jeff,
for now. I'm sorry?
Well, John Jeff, I have to just say real quick, once in a while, every once in a great while, you meet somebody who just really impresses you. You know, you don't always expect that. You don't, because, you know, when you watch TV, it's always going to be some millionaire in a Mercedes who uses some kind of technology to save the world and then becomes best friends, something like that, you know. You know, Jeff was very quiet. I had seen him in college a few times hearing about. We had good conversations. I had no idea what quality, how amazing a person he was, until my world started to fall apart. And my roommate left, and my friends were leaving, and the room was all crazy. I was being attacked. I mean, he stayed the course. He didn't have to. He could have left. He could have never gone back in that place. He could have just left me there. But he kept coming back if I was okay, visiting me to see if I had, you know, any assistance with things. He didn't give up on me as a person. And, you know, after the haunting, we didn't talk about these things for a long time. I wasn't in contact with Jeff for 10, 15 years. And it wasn't until the film started to get underway again I talked to him again. And the weird thing was, it had been so many years. He's out of state. I was here, and he got married. I got married, different families. And, my gosh, it seemed like no time had passed at all. It was almost like a time warp, and we were walking down the street toward the set. It's like old times. I mean, our bodies are older. We look older, but I felt like I was a kid. You know, we're teenage kids again, just exploring the world. So I'm very grateful that he's in my life.
Oh, absolutely. You know, again, and people can tell me I'm a staff or whatever, but again, we love and admire you all so very much. You know, you, John Jeff, Mara, John Tobin, Kathy, you know, you're such wonderful, wonderful people. And, you know, we're so glad to have met you because you really are, all of you, very, very genuine. And I just go ahead.
It's mutual. Same here.
Aw, thanks. I just think it's so cute, like when we ever see you guys in an event, which I always hope to see you guys in events, and even outside of events. But every time we saw John Jeff, he had a camera. And you just know photography is his passion. And it's just so flippin' cute.
And that's actually a reality. I mean, if you had asked me back in 1985, which is, my gosh, almost 30 years ago, to describe him, I would tell you he's the quiet kid with the camera. Because he brought it everywhere. His father was an architect. He designed, you know, large buildings and museums and libraries and stuff up in Rochester. And Jeff always had a creative eye for form, for structure, for design, for contrast, always. And ironically, you know, he's also very involved in poetry and literature. He's a Renaissance man. I would get to know him because I don't really know much about life. I just mostly ran back and forth and, you know, laughed a lot. So It's their own. But and those same skills he had documenting the journal notes for the haunting and the photographs that became evidence for the haunting. So ironically, those gifts he had, those interests, really did a good thing, not so much back then, but now, because now there's a lasting legacy. There's a connection to those events rather than people saying, that might have happened. It's amazing to go through his notes page by page and just read the fear that we're experiencing, and just it's amazing, to see the photographs that we've taken. Like, oh my gosh, it seems so bizarre to me, and yet there it was. So it's again, I feel kind of blessed, Tiffany, because a lot of people right now are looking very actively for proofs of the afterlife, for proofs of the paranormal. It's a calling, and they'll spend a lot of money and go all over the country looking into castles and places. I feel blessed because guess what? Sylvia Starks did that and done. I went through all of that. So in my mind, I don't have any desire to keep on looking for I know it's already there. So there's no pressure on me to perform. There's no pressure on me to prove things. I don't have to. And when I see somebody and I shake their hand and they say to me, listen, when I was 12, I'll look up and say, got it. It's understand. I'm with you. I've talked about this. We share a common experience. Let's talk about, being happy and surviving those things. Beautiful thing.
Absolutely. And you do that with everybody. And you have such a wonderful energy, and you're very welcoming for people to tell them, for them to tell you about their experience and things like that. And I think that comforts people, and I think it helps them remember what makes them happy and what makes them so blessed. And I think people have that natural gift of that and natural energy to calm people like that. And I think that's something that you guys have, especially, you and Jeff, you have that very, very calm, welcoming spirit about you that makes it okay for people to tell you if they've experienced something, and also to accept what words of wisdom you give to them. With that having been said, has anybody ever come to you, maybe somebody from the college, and said, we've been experiencing things in the same dorm? Has anybody ever tried to contact you to tell you anything like that?
That's a great question. It wouldn't have been possible from 1986 until 2011, because for 25 years they would have known to contact me at all. I wasn't public with this. They didn't know who I was. They heard of this ghost boy, heard of this ghost, but no one knew it was me. So for 25 years, they might have wanted to find me, but they wouldn't have been able to. I was shopping for groceries or watching movies at the theaters. That was me. When I first talked about Jeff and I at Geneseo in 2011, I didn't expect people to show up. I just thought, well, it's nice to have a speech. It's been a long time. It was a packed auditorium, and there were folks there that had come. I'll give you an example. Tim Shaw. He has the Black Cat Lounge radio show on Para X. He wrote Please Talk to Me, the book about the haunting, and he had John Zackis, haunted collector, do the forward for it. Mm-hmm. He had just had surgery for cancer. He wasn't well enough to drive. He couldn't get there on his own. He wanted to hear about this so much. He had a friend driving from Buffalo. Right after his surgery, she'd been in bed. Part of this because for years he had been an urban legend, an urban myth. So I was amazed by the people who turned out after all these years. I never knew this. I never knew he was on value in it. I tried to hide it away, but for years people were knocking on walls and trying to find where I was and who I was and what happened there. So when Jeff and I came forward, what? Yay! So afterwards, though, looking back now, I'm trying to think. Yeah, there was one young lady. I say young, but just old. She's probably 23, and she had said that she had heard about the haunting, and about 3 or 4 years ago, she specifically asked for that room. And for those who don't know, it's called the C2D1 haunting because the haunting took place mostly in my dorm room, which was C2D1, which is the C building, second floor, D quad, first room of Erie Hall. That's why they call it that. And I said, oh, really? She says, yeah, and I actually experienced a few things. There's a sense of foreboding. There was a cold draft in the room and things. But, she went there with the pre-knowledge, and she wanted to experience those things. Now, here's the thing. There are two possibilities. Either she wanted this to happen, simply because she wanted it to. In other words, like it's created in her mind, and she experienced that. Or something really happened because she wanted to interact with this thing that was still there. I wasn't there for that, so I don't know, but her testimony is pretty compelling. And so it's hard to say. I can tell you, I promise you, I did my very best back then in those days to try to get this entity, this spirit, whatever this thing was, some rest, some peace. And I'm hoping I did a good job with that. I really am. But, if it doesn't come across once, or come to the bell once, there's no such can't do twice. So I'm always very careful. I never want to, criticize anyone's experience ever, because our own experiences are very real to us and very meaningful. At the same time, I really can't verify if I wasn't there. So I just, her story is very credible, though, and it was very interesting to hear her talk.
I'm sure. Now, since you have come out public, have you received any backlash from the university?
Believe it or not, no. At the time, it was a very different environment way back then. You couldn't talk about that. They would have shut me up so fast. In fact, when the reporters came to the newspaper, they came off the campus. They didn't want that kind of occult talk, back then. However, when I went back 2 years ago, they actually had all the orientation advisors there at my speech, my talk, so they could tell all the incoming freshmen during orientation about the ghost. Because they recognize now, it's on television, it's the movies, it's a popular thing. Years ago, I'm not telling the kids they're haunted. Now, I want to go to that room in that dorm because it happened there. So they realize now, economically, it's a selling point. And so it's funny how, no matter where you are, finances, money, always seems to creep in some way, in people's decisions. And this is a positive thing. People can experience this thing. So actually, they embrace it now. They let me to speak there 3 times, and they hosted the film once. So they've been very supportive. They like it. They've embraced me. And, I couldn't ask more than that. I never would have expected that to happen.
Well, Jeff, I have to say I'm very, very surprised because I don't know if many people know this, but what used to be Willowbrook Asylum in Staten Island, New York, is now turned into a college. They renovated everything and turned it into a college with dorm rooms and whatnot. And I hadn't known that. Called because we wanted to investigate, and as much as we would love to just go someplace and be urban explorers and do whatever, we have respect for everything, and we want to make sure that we have permission to be there. We have somebody's blessing. And I called, not knowing that it was a college now. I thought I was because I was calling the the place that you call to get information about the state or the city. I can't think of the name.
Registrar, first, or every some name. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and they're like, well, it's a college now. And I was like, oh, okay. And then she's like, well, let me give you the number. I think that would be so cool if they would let you do that. So they gave me the number to the college, and of course I called, and I'm like, my name is Tiffany. I have a really unorthodox question for you, and I knew both adventures had been there previous. And she goes, we're a college. We don't allow that. We don't condone it, and we don't like your kind. And hung up on me. I'm like, oh, that was pleasant.
Thank you for understanding, right?
I'm like, well, thank you for being kind and open-minded. You are awesome. I can't wait. I hope students there just love you. It was just shot right down. And the same thing with Nazareth College. Some of you don't know, Nazareth College is also very famous for the whole Agnes of God scenario. And I had a friend who actually was an RA there and went there to school, and she would always hear about, the things moving in my dorm room. Like, I don't understand. Like, I literally saw papers fly off my desk. The window wasn't open, and this wasn't open, or they'll be in the chow hall, what they called it, the cafeteria, and people would turn the lights off and they'd come back on, or they would hear what sounded like a woman and a baby crying, or, people screaming. And one night he went down there because somebody said lights were on, and he thought it was the students being stupid. They went down there, he turned all the lights off, every single one of them, walked out, went to shut the door, every single light turned back on. Wow. And he was like, guess what? I'm not going back in there. And so I called him. He's like, you know what? let the electric bill go. I don't pay it. I don't care. I'm going. And then as he went to walk away, he then saw them all turn off in one blink of an eye, just one blink. He's like, going back to my dorm room, hiding underneath my covers. If I tell you it's not there, it's not there. So I called Nazareth, and they pretty much did the same thing. I'm very happily surprised that Geneseo is being so supportive because they really are a well-known college. Like, you know, I think they're one of the next well-known under Syracuse and Colgate. So, you know, I think it's so great that they're being so supportive.
Well, I think, too, that the students that go to their community also play a role in that. You know, if there are big interest by the students, you know, for fundraisers or to, you know, have events, and the people who make decisions on this, the administration, see that's a positive thing, that, you know what, let's give it a shot. So I'm sure the first time I went there, they're like, I don't know if this is a good idea. But, you know, it was a sold-out house. They made a lot of money for the college. People loved it. It wasn't controversial. There was no blood sacrifices. You know, it was just a person, myself, talking about an experience that was harrowing and how you survived that and how you dedicate yourself to persevering. And very inspirational. I think they were surprised by that. And I think sometimes, too, you know, like anybody else, you know, we sometimes judge the book by its cover or we just react instinctively, not understanding what's actually going to occur or being said. You know, and I think that it takes a certain kind of person to listen carefully to make changes occur. So I think eventually you're going to see some of those places be more embracing of the paranormal, except if, let's say, you're talking about acts of God. That's a really scary, really troubling story, you know. And so they might think, well, unlike the CCD on haunting, there doesn't seem to be like closure. There's no like happiness. There's no peace. I don't know if we want that. So maybe they might just be going from that kind of angle that just can't be good, you know. So again, it's perception, and it'll change because 25 years ago, no place wanted that notoriety, not even like hotels or inns. And now they recognize, hey, you know what? Let's go to a hotel. People flock there because they want to, you know, do the activity. So again, you know, Mighty Dollar seems to drive a lot of activity, and that's okay as long as it's invested in a way that helps people or spread understanding, you know.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. And, you know, I would hope it would get there sometime soon with some of these other places that, you know, it's for truth and discovery, nothing else, not to give them a bad name. And I think that's also sometimes what they're afraid of. They're like, oh, no, you know, I might, you know, make students not want to come here, which I can kind of understand. But also right now, for some reason, we are in the high point of the paranormal being accepted. I mean, there's some places that don't. We still have a stigma attached to it. But I think as far as, you know, it being, this is the highest point it's ever been. And people actually, like, you know, they'll go to places going, is it haunted? Are you guys haunted? And people, I've seen it, people will go to hotels or bed and breakfast, like, just going to open, they're like, is it haunted? Is there ghosts here?
Yeah.
Well, no, there isn't. And then
I can't wait to open up. You know, I do understand some of the concern because back around the 1900s, you had the spiritualist movement, with the Fox sisters and all that, you know, and there was this great interest in the paranormal. And then what began to happen was people saw that and began to create hoaxes, where they had somebody hiding in the closet or banging on the floor, to create false mirrors, you know. So it became almost like wrestling with those sometimes as being fake. And people lost some of the, you know, the thought that this is sincere, this is meaningful. And it's taken a long time for the paranormal community to recover from that spiritualist movement with a lot of the further activity. You know, but now with cell phones and camcorders and K2 meters and the internet, it's easier now to show evidences. You know, it's easier to spot a fake. And so hopefully, you know, the process is where the people are just trying to make a buck at people's expense by doing something fraudulent, they're exposed, leaving the people who are actually investigating to find out the science, the religion, the spirituality of the paranormal that can actually really help shape the human history, you know, human future.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. Now we're getting down to the wire here. Just a few more minutes. Oh, my gosh. Time flies.
What?
It flies. Oh, my gosh. So are you booking more dates for your lecture tour? or do you have a couple set ones that you can share with us and tell us where we can find you to listen to you and John speak?
Well, I never do too much in advance. One, because I'm not organized, and two, because I never know if I'm going to be exhausted. I did an amazing block of events this year, from the Parahistory Con to Phenomenology to Parafest to Scaricons. I mean, so many things. And then I'm thinking, I'm just getting old. I'm really tired. And so I try to put a cap on some of them, it's much fun. But, yeah, I mean, like I said, this weekend's going to be at Waterloo, this spectacular festival. People should come out and say hello. It's going to be a great, intimate experience. And I think it's $16 to get in, and everything is going to be included in that, and the lectures, the movies, the costume parties, everything. And so that's going to be a spectacular time. It's on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. I try to advertise on that. It's also, if you go to SavvyEvidence.com, that has a little movie information. Then I'm going to be going November 2nd to the Wilson College Horror Festival. Then November 23rd, I'll be at Socrates with John Tobin for part 2 of the Reaching Through Time tour. It's Dave's Coffee House and Wine House. And, as you know, Tiffany, that I'm very accessible. I like talking to people. So if you want to reach out to me and say hello, I'm always there. I'll, do anything to people out as I can. And I'm not much of a salesperson. I'm never good at that, but I don't know. But, I do my very best when I go and speak to give people an experience that they don't forget.
Oh, and I agree. And for you listening out there, I know I keep saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it because I love all my friends. John and Chris are very, very warm, welcoming people. You will feel so comfortable with them right away. When we first met Chris, he gave us a big hug, and it was just awesome. So you definitely want to come hear them speak. They are very compelling and interesting. Never a dull moment. If you go to sleep, you've been taking sleeping pills before you went, because it's going to be too exciting to want to miss a word. And I can't wait. Jenny and I are definitely planning on hitting a couple of you guys' lectures, and we can't wait. We can't wait. And what we'll do is, if you can, send me in a message some of the links, and I will post them on our website and on our Facebook page.
Oh, so I certainly will.
Yeah, so everybody that's listening to the show can go and click on them and find where they're going to be, where they can see you, and such like that. So, the more we can get the word spread around, the better.
Well, thank you for that. And is there 30 seconds for me to say some thank yous?
Absolutely.
I really want to thank everyone involved with the Savvy Evidence Project, I call it SE, and I want to thank the executive producer, Bill Edwards, the director, Mark Trier. I want to thank the celebrity panelists. We had Rosalind Brown, Brian J. Cano, Virginia Centrillo, Joe Chin, Christine Downs, Daniel Hooven, Mark Ties, Flip Searles, John Tobin, John Jeff Underhill, Battle Buddy, my son Matthew. We had great actors, including Henry Austin Awe, Isabel Capellan, Caitlin Daniels, Julia Dreyhouse, Isaiah Miller, Donna Parrish-Bischoff, Chip Reichenthal, and the music by the Dead Stanleys and Bridget Clear was incredible. And I want to thank Miss Fanny's Haunted Victorian Party House and the Stanley Hotel for allowing us to film on set, and Sal and Julia. So thank you to everyone. I really appreciate it.
Yes, they all did such a phenomenal job. And we were so very thankful that we were able to share such a special night with you guys. And it was great getting to meet the whole cast. I mean, the movie was so well done. It was, very beautifully put together and so very unique. It was very unique in how it was put together and portrayed, not like any other movie we've ever seen.
That's because we don't have a formula. Like a lot of times you see a formula in Hollywood where there's one man, the crisis. He must save the world. He finds a girl. They fall in love. He saves her. She saves him. The world is saved. Sunset. But in reality, things don't always happen that way. And so the folks I work with are very determined just to create things that they should be,
Absolutely. And it was just phenomenal. Unfortunately, we are out of time. It just went by like, boom, speed of light. Thank you so very, very much, Chris, for coming on the show. You are always welcome on DTM. You have an open door anytime. And
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jenny. I really appreciate it.
We love you guys, and we're always here for you. And everybody, this is Christopher de Cesare. You can definitely find the movies. Please Talk With Me, the C2D, I think I got it, the C2D1 Hauntings. You can find them on, can you give them a website?
Sure, you can go to survivingevidence.com. And there's a home section, a store section, video section. Everything's right on that site. It's survivingevidence.com. It's a great place. There's also a Facebook page about the same thing. It's Facebook Surviving Evidence. Or my own page. It's Facebook. It's Christopher Cesare, Dicesare.
Yes, you can find them there, and also on DTM's Facebook page and website, we'll be posting updated lecture dates and updated movie premieres where you can see these movies in the theater. So we want to, again, thank Christopher Cesare for being so awesome, for being our guest. And thank you, everybody, for listening. We hope everybody has a great night. We love everybody. And thank you, Chris.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. All right, everybody. This is Tiffany Beth and Benny with Wicked Edge. Please stay tuned for Aliens, UFOs, and Beyond with Christina George and her special guest, Judith Crowley. Have a good night.